Let's talk about the challenges in implementing ICTs in my area. See, the biggest challenge I see here is actually paradigm shift in teachers and administrators. See, the paradigm shift has what we think education is supposed to look like versus what we hope education should look like. Now, we have been convinced that education is supposed to be in a certain way and we don't want to change. And that's a challenge for us. Therefore, it will be hard for us to implement ICTs without changing the mindset of the people or of the stakeholders in different schools. See, in education, we see that we think it is supposed to be chalk and mortar based. Nothing more and nothing less. And that's where the trouble comes. Okay? Because now we're introducing the ICTs into the education system, which is finding a blockade in terms of people's mindset, stakeholders' mindset. So introducing digital learning would meet a lot of resistance in teachers and administrators, because on the first glance it looks like we are replacing the way education has been known and understood for a very long time. Therefore, that is bound to face resistance. See, digital learning sometimes is misunderstood as replacing a teacher for a computer. Therefore, we need to do a better job at making sure that people understand exactly what ICTs mean and how they're going to be implemented and how they can help a learner understand better in the class. Instead of just saying we are implementing ICTs because it is seen as we are replacing a teacher for just a computer or a projector, which doesn't work that way. So therefore, paradigm shift is key in making sure that we implement ICTs in my area. The other challenge is just general funding. Generally, you see, ICT equipment is very expensive, very expensive to buy. Most of the schools in my area will not afford them. Also, teachers will require a raise due to more work. Now, ICTs come with a lot of work to deal with. You have to, instead of just a teacher coming in front of the class to teach, the teacher has to go back and think of how he's going to implement these ICTs in his or her lessons. Now that requires extra work and teachers may require a raise. Most schools in my area won't be able to afford this raise. The other issue is about maintenance and repair of ICT devices. That requires money and we will need general funding for that. We'll need different stakeholders to jump in and fund this kind of repairs and buying the new devices of ICTs. And that can be a challenge. It can be a challenge to get that funding for various schools in my area. The other problem that I see around is also hiring special ICT personnel. Special ICT personnel will require new hirings, will require the school to have these special people who can handle these devices once a problem happens. A teacher may not be in position to know exactly what's going on when a projector shuts down. The other issue that is related to the one prior is tech resources, general resources around the schools. See, ICT devices like computers, projectors, smartboards, internet, printers are very expensive, both to maintain and to buy, just like we said previously. Also, we need to hire new human resource to make sure that these ICTs are well taken care of. So that's just the general resource. The other problem that we may encounter is actually professional development. These computers, these projectors, smartboards, and various ICTs will require teachers to be trained on how they actually work. Teachers will need training to make sure that these ICTs are well used in the classroom. Another challenge is continuous continuous professional development. Now, this is different from just professional development. Once professional development is done, what about what happens if technology changes? You see, technology is very, very dynamic. Every day something new is invented. So we need new knowledge to be imparted in teachers every time technology changes. And that is very, 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 very important. The other thing is continuous professional development will take time, meaning that the teachers and the schools will have to create time outside class to make sure that the teachers are well trained in these new changes that are happening in technology, which may serve to be very, 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 very hard. It will be costly in terms of time, but also in terms of income, which schools in my area may not afford. Now, the next problem is actually infrastructure. See, most ICTs to be implemented, we require new infrastructure or making sure that we change the available infrastructure. For example, we might need to build or to dig around the school to put in internet cables. We might need to build a computer lab. We might need to mount projectors and screens and smart boards in our classrooms. All that will require money and time. We also require various stakeholders to jump in. Therefore, this may prove to be hard for many schools. Many schools would rather have the teacher stand in front of the class and teach students rather than going through the hectic process of implementing all these resources. So that will serve as a very big challenge for various schools in my area. The other problem is actually sensitization of parents. Now, how are parents involved? See, parents are key stakeholders, and when a policy is being passed, they should be involved. So therefore, implementation of ICT really concerns the parents too. See, parents are also have a risk of being charged more school fees for these ICTs that are implemented in the schools. Therefore, they should be involved. And here comes the issue. Parents might resist due to the fact that they are going to be required to make an extra income into paying school fees for these students. Therefore, they might resist the implementation of these ICTs. The last problem that we'll talk about is lack of trust. See, I know deep down every administrator and every teacher knows that we should switch to agile development. We should switch to the ICTs. Except we don't trust them. We don't trust the fact that you might be teaching on a project and it shuts down and you have to redo that lesson another day. That creates a mistrust. So therefore, it is important for us to work harder to eliminate this mistrust in these schools around my area for us to be able to implement these ICTs. That's a very, very big challenge actually. You have been in a scenario where you prepared your lesson very well and you're ready to go, and what happens is power goes off. What do you do in that situation? Okay, you can't trust technology anymore, right? So that's a very huge issue that we need to eliminate before we talk about implementing ICTs. And that's the end of this presentation. Thank you so much for listening. I hope that Uganda and my area where I live, we will be able to implement these ICTs in the schools with time. Thank you very much.